Sometimes the good news is found in the bad news. Hi, this is Barry Phillips, a 10-minute Torah day 4 of Ha'azinu. Give ear. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32 again, and let's start today and verse number 20 that says, "And he," that is Yahweh, said, "Let me hide my face from them, let me see what their end is, for they are a perverse generation, children in whom there is no trusting. They made me jealous by what is not ill, they provoke me with their worthless matters, but I make them jealous by those who are no people. I provoke them with a foolish nation. For a fire was kindled in my wrath, and burns to the bottom of Sheol, and consumes the earth and its increase, and sets on fire the foundations of mountains. I gather my evils upon them, and use up my arrows upon them. Wasted by scarcity of food, and consumed by heat and bitter destruction, teeth of beasts, I send on them with the poison of servants of the dust." And he goes on talking about the destruction that could come ultimately upon his own people, Israel. Why? Because, well, they forgot him. And Yah is not one to be forgotten. At the time of this recording, we are just a few days beyond the remnants of Hurricane Helene going through southeast United States, wreaking havoc from Florida all the way up into Ohio, and then veering off toward the east and going into other states. Southwestern Virginia, the state I live in, has been hit hard. Mountain communities that are wonderful places to see, beautiful, beautiful landscapes and terrain they have been ravaged horribly. And all this water gathers on the tops of mountains and runs down the sides and gathers into the ravines and valleys and gorges below in the rivers. It can be very, very rapidly overwhelming, and without warning, entire towns can and they have been totally destroyed. One might ask, okay, what made Yah mad? Why did he allow this? Well, let's go back a little bit further than just this year and this month. Back to the time that Adam and Chava sinned in the garden. Chava received a pronouncement of increased pain in her childbirth. And then instead of cursing Adam directly, Yah cursed the ground, the earth, in his behalf. And he talked about the hardships that man would experience due to his relationship with the earth. Romans tells us that the earth is still looking to be released from this curse, and that it is groaning under it. So when we see natural disasters of this sort and variety, earthquakes, tornadoes, other issues, we should understand it's not always just Yah pushing a button and making things happen. It can be very much related to the sin issues of the territory and region, but it's also, it's sometimes just the earth responding to the curse of sin. And I'll leave others to discuss more thoroughly that aspect of things. But we see here that Yah is saying, my children have lost their trust in me. They are a perverse generation of people, and I'm going to respond. At the time, again, of this recording, it's getting late in the evening. It has been a day of frustration and testing and a bit of a trial of sorts. I spent some time sitting in a vehicle today that did not want to mechanically work correctly. And instead of bemoaning my own issue, I thought of those, as I've mentioned, that were suffering with total loss of property, loss of power, food, water, those that have lost loved ones. And I thought, I'm going to spend my time praying for them. And that's what I did. There are times, however, that national calamities, they're not going to be changed by a prayer. There was an occasion where a tornado, a hurricane was coming in potentially to my hometown area here. And I was basically saying, it's time for you to show your power. Yah, it's time for you to bring judgment. And I was praying along those lines, basically, go ahead and sick them, Father. When he questioned me in my prayer and said, you really want people to suffer? Do you really want me to cause people to lose everything that they have? Do you want people to die? And the more he pressed the issue, more I realized how wrong I was in my prayers. And he redirected me, and I started praying for mercy instead. The storm ultimately turned and went out into the sea, into the ocean. But I also received this word, son, there are storms that can be prayed away, but there is coming a time where they cannot be prayed away. And my judgment will come upon the land, but not yet. We need to understand that Yah has within his, I started to say his arsenal, but within his choice of responses, means of getting our attention. And why would he need to bring judgment upon anybody? Well, let's go back again a little bit further in history and understand that if Egypt had not been completely destroyed, those who left Mitzrayim, and the rabbis say only 20% left, and 80% of Israel stay behind. If those who left had foreseen an ability of quick recovery, they may never have left at all. Part of the impetus of them getting out of Mitzrayim was not only the aspect of freedom and liberty from slavery, but also the understanding there's nothing to stay for. It's all gone. If Yah did not destroy what we count as convenient and comfortable and reliable and trustworthy, where we would have the good life, if all of those things were not destroyed, many of us would say, I'd just rather stay in this little pleasant place than to seek the face of the Father for his kingdom. Yeshua also prophesied to us in Matthew chapter 24. And in verse 30, it says that it's after all of the devastations have come upon the earth that then the son of Adam, the sign of the son of Adam, that is Yeshua, will be seen in the heavens, but not before. So for those that are praying for a pre-wrath, pre-judgment, pre-tribulation rapture to come and enable them to escape all of the issues that are prophesied in Matthew 24 by Messiah himself, read that chapter and realize it's after all of the terrible events. You're going to see those things. We all are. If we go into the book of Revelation, we see in chapter 6 the conquering diplomat on the white horse, on the red horse, he who robs shalom and brings war. The black horse brings famine, and the pale horse brings death, so much that 1/4 of the earth's population dies from war and from famine and from hunger and from beast. In chapter number 8 of the book of Revelation, in verse 7, 1/3 of all the trees are lost and all grass. 1/3 of sea creatures die, and 1/3 of ships are destroyed in verse 9. In verse 10, wormwood shows up and causes many to die. And in verse 12, 1/3 of the day is lost. Yah is not out to make people just suffer and grind and groan and just fall down into a heap and bemoan existence itself. These are not days just of tragedy and judgment, but this is the time that is quickly coming where those who are the sons of light, those who belong to Messiah, will rise up, and the glory of Yeshua, Isaiah says in chapter 60, will shine upon them. And those that are trapped in darkness will flee to them to share in that light. What is tragedy and hardship for the earth is the revelation of the Messiah and of those who trust in him. The good news is found in the bad news. And more news is available tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see you then. Until then, shalom.